It was a quiet Sunday morning in 1980. In a small, rural town nestled far away from the big cities, life was simple, and faith was central to every part of the community. Churchgoers gathered, as they did every Sunday, to pray, reflect, and honor the divine. But that Sunday would be different. On that fateful morning, 11 young altar boys, all between the ages of 7 and 12, vanished without a trace. They were last seen assisting with the Mass, but when the service ended, they were nowhere to be found. The town was thrown into chaos. Families, friends, and strangers alike frantically searched every inch of the surrounding streets and woods, hoping for any sign of the boys. But no one ever found a clue. The authorities were quick to act, but their efforts were in vain. Investigations came up empty. The community rallied, with neighbors organizing search parties and putting up missing person flyers. But it was as if the boys had simply vanished into thin air. Days turned to weeks. Weeks turned to months. The case went cold. Despite the search and the public outcry, the police could not find any trace of the boys. The community was left with more questions than answers, and with no evidence to go on, the case was eventually forgotten by the wider world. Though whispers and rumors circulated through the town for years, no one could bring themselves to confront the terrifying possibility that something far darker was at play. Some believed the boys had run away, though no one could explain why so many of them would do such a thing at the same time. Others whispered of an unimaginable horror: could the priest have been involved? Was there something the community was hiding? Local rumors continued to swirl for years. Some believed the priest, Father McCarthy, had known more than he let on. He was said to have had a special bond with the boys, but some people wondered whether his intentions were pure. But no one dared speak of it openly. The town had grown silent. And with no concrete evidence, the case was quietly buried in history, becoming a distant memory for all who lived through it. But after decades of silence, the case would resurface in a way no one could have expected. 26 years later, the FBI would re-examine the case. What new evidence had been found? And could the truth finally be uncovered? In the next chapter of this chilling story, we'll find out just how deep the mystery of the altar boys really goes. The 11 altar boys who disappeared were known for their good hearts and strong faith. They were children that every parent in the town was proud to raise, and every teacher wished to teach. There was Andrew, the oldest of the group, known for his leadership qualities. He had a younger brother, Matthew, who looked up to him like a father figure. Their family had been part of the church for generations. Then there was Chijioke, a quiet, thoughtful boy who was always at the front of the altar, helping the priest during Mass. He came from a family that had endured hardships but remained deeply rooted in their Christian faith. And there was Abiola, the energetic boy with a contagious smile, whose family owned a small market stall in the town square. Abiola's laughter would fill the church, even during the most somber moments of prayer. Each boy had his own unique story, stories of hope, dreams, and their devotion to their church. 2. As altar boys, they were considered the right hands of the priest. They were always first to arrive and last to leave. Their families were proud of their roles, and the boys wore their duties with honor. They were the future of the church, trusted to uphold the sanctity of the service. Their duties ranged from preparing the altar to assisting Father McCarthy during Mass. They were models of innocence, and the entire town admired them for their commitment. The altar boys came from tight-knit families who worked hard to make a living. Many of them were from modest homes, but they shared a deep love for one another. Take Daniel's family, for example. Daniel was one of the youngest and often seen helping his grandmother in the garden. His mother, a seamstress, would often make clothes for the other children in the church, and his father ran a small carpentry business. For each family, church was more than just a place of worship, it was a community, a support system, and a way of life. One person who stood at the center of their lives was Father McCarthy. A man who, for many, was a beacon of faith, wisdom, and guidance. For the altar boys, he was more than just their priest, he was a mentor, a teacher, and a father figure. Father McCarthy took great pride in his altar boys. He believed they would one day lead the next generation of churchgoers. They would often seek his counsel, whether about their studies, their faith, or their lives outside the church. The bond between the priest and the boys seemed unshakable. To the town, these altar boys weren't just kids, they were seen as the future of their community. They were the ones who helped the elderly with their groceries, volunteered for community cleanups, and assisted in the church's outreach programs. They were trusted figures in the town, pillars of innocence and hope. Their disappearance left a void that no one could fill. But in the blink of an eye, that sense of hope was shattered. In 1980, during a typical Sunday service, the altar boys vanished. And the town would never be the same again. It was an ordinary Sunday morning, just like any other. The church was filled with worshippers, and the altar boys, as usual, were hard at work. Their task was simple: assist Father McCarthy during the service, carry out the traditional duties, and be a part of the sacred ritual. They were trusted members of the congregation. But then, something unusual happened. At some point during the service, the altar boys simply vanished. No one saw them leave. There were no screams, no signs of a struggle. One moment, they were there, helping Father McCarthy, and the next, they were gone. But then, something unusual happened. At some point during the service, the altar boys simply vanished. No one saw them leave. There were no screams, no signs of a struggle. One moment, they were there, helping Father McCarthy, and the next, they were gone. Immediately after the service, the search began. The families, the townspeople, and the police all scoured the area. People ran to the nearby fields, checked the roads leading out of town, and even combed the riverbanks. But there was no sign of the boys. No footprints, no clothes left behind, not even a single piece of evidence. The police were baffled. With no physical evidence, no witnesses, and no leads, the investigation stalled. Some believed the boys had run away, perhaps they had become frightened of something or someone. But even this theory seemed odd, given their close-knit relationships with their families and the church. Despite the authorities' best efforts, they found nothing to explain the boys' disappearance. As weeks turned into months, the case grew colder. The town, once shaken, began to move on. But the boys' families could never forget. They were left with nothing but questions, and the haunting fear that something far worse had happened. The police theory, that the boys had run away, was never proven, but it was the explanation that the authorities settled on. With no signs of forced entry, no ransom demands, and no bodies found, the case eventually grew cold. But the families of the altar boys refused to believe this. They knew their children, and they knew they wouldn't have just disappeared without a trace. As the years went by, the mystery of their vanishing only deepened, and the question remained: what really happened to the 11 altar boys? As weeks turned into months, theories began spreading through the town. Whispers soon settled on one man: Father McCarthy. The community respected him, but behind closed doors, rumors grew. He changed in those last months. He kept the boys late. Locked doors more often. His sermons got darker, authorities questioned Father McCarthy. He denied everything. And without evidence, the law could do nothing. Every lead, dead. Every call, nothing. Eventually, we were told to move on. With no progress, no answers, and no suspects, the case was quietly shelved. The families were left alone with fear, and the town tried to forget. But darkness never sleeps forever. Before the disappearance of the altar boys, Father Patrick McCarthy was one of the most trusted men in the township. Soft-spoken, educated overseas, and deeply involved in community charity, he was seen as a blessing the moment he arrived. St. Edna's Church itself was older than most of the town's homes. Built on donated farmland, it held secrets of generations. Beneath its floors, dusty archives, forgotten tunnels, and rooms never opened to the public. People don't realize, the church grounds used to be part of a Catholic orphanage in the 1920s. Files went missing when the building was renovated. No one ever talked about it. To the public, Father McCarthy was gentle. He organized charity drives, visited the sick, and mentored troubled teens. But those closest to him noticed a sharper edge. He was polite, kind. But sometimes his eyes just changed. Like he wasn't there. Some said he kept the altar boys too late, insisting on private lessons. He kept journals no one ever saw. He often walked alone through the church at night, long after the bells stopped ringing. Father McCarthy frequently disappeared on certain evenings. No records, no explanations. Parish council meetings he never attended, funerals he missed, all without comment. No official reports were ever filed. But there were signs, behavioral changes, fearfulness, nightmares. Parents didn't want to accuse a priest. In 1980, that alone was unthinkable. Could Father McCarthy have played a role in the disappearance? Or was he simply a convenient suspect, a man darkened by rumor? Years passed. New families moved in. Old ones moved away. The disappearance of the altar boys slowly slipped out of headlines, and into whispers. But Father McCarthy remained. His once sharp stare dulled with time. His sermons grew shorter. His energy drained. Though many tried to forget, the lost boys lingered in the town's memory. Whenever Father McCarthy passed, conversations stopped. Eyes followed. As the years faded, so did he. He withdrew from community socials. Parishioners noticed his sermons carried a heaviness, as if every word weighed too much to speak. Then, illness struck. It began with tremors, coughing fits, nights spent awake as neighbors heard pacing through church corridors. As his health declined, so did his peace. Neighbors reported seeing him whispering into empty rooms. Some claimed they saw him weeping behind closed curtains. Doctors couldn't agree on his condition. Some thought it was stress. Others believed neurological failure. But no one could explain the sudden collapse of a man once so sharp. Some wondered if guilt itself had manifested in his blood. In his final days, he spoke less and prayed more. He refused visitors. He ignored letters. Alone in his room, too weak to lift his Bible, he waited. Just like that, the man at the center of the mystery was gone. Taken by a disease no doctor properly named. Slowly, the memory of the missing altar boys became a cautionary story told to new residents. And Father McCarthy's name faded into quiet disapproval. But his coffin would not remain closed forever. On a cold morning in November, the town gathered to say goodbye to Father Patrick McCarthy. For many, his passing marked the end of a long, painful chapter. Despite whispers of suspicion, he had guided the community for decades, baptized children, married couples, and presided over countless funerals. But some wondered, how many? 11 chairs once reserved for altar boys remained symbolic reminders of a mystery that had never been solved. After his death, people just stopped talking about it. It was almost like the town was tired of being afraid. Some claimed McCarthy knew more than he ever admitted. Others said he took secrets to his grave. It was the last time his presence filled the church. In death, he finally escaped the spotlight. As soil covered his coffin, many believed the tragedy was buried with him. Life resumed its steady rhythm. Weddings returned. Choirs sang again. The church washed itself clean with time, or tried to. Not everyone was convinced. Rumors drifted like cigarette smoke through back rooms and bar stools. Police officially closed the case. Families were told to find peace. But peace never came. Years passed. His grave became just another stone among many. Until someone noticed something wrong. A tip would reopen the case, and lead investigators back to the man everyone thought was innocent. Even if it meant digging him up. A knock from the FBI changed everything. 26 years after 11 altar boys vanished without a trace, the silence surrounding the case was broken. A new lead had surfaced, strong enough to catch federal attention. The original investigation had hit a dead end. But time brings new tools, and new eyes. For decades, the town had whispered theories. Now, the rumors were under scientific scrutiny. The name Father Patrick McCarthy resurfaced, attached to newly uncovered testimonies. Modern forensic technology could analyze traces once thought worthless. What investigators dismissed in 1980 now held new meaning. Father McCarthy's logs revealed unexplained gaps, and hidden travels. Ground-penetrating radar suggested disturbances in the soil dating back decades. The evidence pointed not just to the church, but to the man buried beneath its shadow. For the parents who had waited a lifetime, hope suddenly reignited, painful as it was. With enough evidence to justify the unthinkable, after 26 years underground, the priest was about to speak again. With a federal warrant in hand, the FBI intensified their investigation into a case many believed was buried forever. Old files, once ignored, offered new patterns. Whispers of organized criminal activity had floated around the town for decades. Smuggling. Trafficking. Payoffs. Some experts pointed toward ritualistic patterns, symbolic dates, and hidden rooms beneath the sanctuary. Material found on clothing evidence contained soil only present near the priest's private garden and grave plot. Subtle metallic traces and organic matter suggested something, or someone, might be inside. Historic graves can hold clues, DNA, fibers, bone fragments. If anything was hidden, this is where truth rests. Modern technology offered tools unthinkable in 1980. The evidence pointed in one direction, Father McCarthy. And the only place left to look, was beneath the earth. The evidence pointed in one direction, Father McCarthy. And the only place left to look, was beneath the earth. No one knew what they would find. Bones. Clues. Secrets. Or nothing at all. At dawn, the past would be unearthed. At dawn, investigators arrived to perform one of the most controversial acts in the town's history. Every step would be documented for court, history, and for the families. After 26 years, the earth finally gave way. No one knew what would be inside. Immediately, something was wrong. The first sign was clothing, preserved beneath decades of darkness. A diary, written in the priest's own hand. Symbols associated with secret ritual groups dating back centuries, everything collected would be examined at multiple federal labs. Father McCarthy himself was still present, but his bones told their own story. But the coffin was only the beginning. Clues pointed deeper, underground. In the weeks following the exhumation, teams of forensic experts worked around the clock. The priest's journal revealed obsessive writings about purity, sacrifice, and silence. Structural diagrams confirmed unauthorized chambers beneath the sanctuary. Fibers recovered from bone fragments matched choir robes used in 1980. Symbols found in the priest's diary matched those used by fringe, ritualistic sects operating in Europe during the early 20th century. A chilling pattern emerged: every disappearance coincided with private events held by Father McCarthy. A posthumous indictment was issued, a rare legal act for crimes left unresolved. The sanctuary was condemned, its doors sealed, pending full excavation. With forensic confirmation, diary confessions, and hidden remains, the truth was no longer rumor, but fact. Father McCarthy was responsible. But there was still one place the FBI had not searched. In the aftermath of the investigation, life slowly begins to settle. But nothing returns the way it was. We waited 26 years for answers. Now we finally have them, but closure doesn't erase pain. For some, the truth is a relief. For others, it reopens wounds that never healed. After decades of uncertainty, the boys are finally laid to rest, properly, and with dignity. The priest who once presided over life and death in this town now lies alone, in silence. The building has been condemned. No services, no sermons, no choir. The community can finally take those posters down. But the memories remain. This case became proof, no matter how cold a case runs, persistence can thaw truth. Never forget those lost without answers. Keep asking the questions others fear to ask. Justice may sleep, but it never dies. Like, share, and subscribe for more videos like this.